Peace, 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 peace. What's up, fam? How y'all doing again? We back for another live stream, another video for the YouTube algorithm. So I want to jump right into this conversation, and excuse me because y'all know I be forgetting certain things. I'm not as professional as all of these other YouTubers. I'm still working this thing out. So it's not like I get everything figured out. We're still trying to work this thing out. All right, so we're here again, and we're going to be right now we're going to be talking about this whole border czar situation because there are like a few main key things that we're talking about here in a political sphere, right? And because we're in the sphere of politics, we have to examine all of these things that are going on. And in order for us to use discernment to make sure that we know what it is that we're voting for or utilizing our power to be a part of as far as everything goes, we have to continuously make sure that we're keeping up with what's going on so we're not tricked or bamboozled into a whole lot of things. Now, there is a criticism that went out that says that I'm not really being neutral, or I'm just hitting on Kamala Harris at the moment. The reason why, one of the reasons why I'm a huge proponent against Kamala Harris, it's not because I'm being biased, it's because when you have somebody who's pandering to a certain demographic and not to Americans as a whole, right? Especially in this field of identity politics, you have to kind of put more of a side eye on somebody who's coming in as a wolf in sheep's clothing. As far as my demographic goes, we as Black Americans have been pandered to by one particular party, and that party has been told to us is the party of our demographic. So the most scrutiny is going to come from inside of the house. So if I'm going to have this conversation, I'm going to have this conversation, have the scrutiny on those who are supposed to be for me first, right? And then we can go into the things that Donald Trump says, because there's a lot of stuff that we can go ahead and clarify about what Donald Trump says. But at the end of the day, it's all about figuring out what is going to work out for the benefit of the people. And currently, there are two things going on. You have a party that is trying to pander to a certain demographic so that they can have so they can get the votes, right? And then the other end of this is who's in power. I care more about who's in power than I care now. I care more about who's in power than I care about who's trying to gain power, right? Because we know what Donald Trump is going to do. He said what he was going to do. He said it multiple times what he's going to do, right? A lot of people want to get us into the argumentation about like him saying like black jobs. Like they nitpick it so much. I think one of the things that I'm very I do scrutinize a lot is the fact that we talk about, like, we have this microscope on Donald Trump so much, and it's been going on since he started off his political his political career, right? They've been on this man with a microscope for a very long time. And one of the things that happens is when you begin, and especially something that I experienced, when you begin to actually criticize those who are on the other side who say that they're for you, that's when you get a huge pushback. And my idea is to question why it is that we can't ask questions about what people actually want to know. There's a lot of questions that are out there that people want to know. Is this because I'm a conservative? Yes, I'm a conservative. However, before I was a conservative, I was a Bernie bro. I literally was on the Democratic side, and I was going to be a Bernie bro. I would have voted for Bernie over Trump every day of the week. However, Bernie showed himself to be a weak leader, and he was not willing to fight Hillary Clinton where it mattered. That's why I'm not a Bernie bro. That's why I'm no longer a Democrat. Because again, a lot of the policies that he was going to implement never got implemented because of the party that he's in. Right? So there's no power in somebody who is going to fall back, right, on their policies and not really go for the gusto and fight hard for what it is that he believes, right? So now we're stuck with two administrations. I voted for, did I vote? No, I didn't vote for Obama. I supported Obama, but I did not vote for Obama either term. I didn't get an opportunity to vote for Bush. I didn't get it. I think I was in Iraq at that point in time, because as you know, I'm a veteran. So I think I was in Iraq at that time, and I didn't turn in my absentee ballot at that point in time. So the first time I actually entered the sphere of actually voting was voting for Donald Trump against Hillary Clinton. And I also voted for Donald Trump against Joe Biden because I understood a lot more of the policies that were behind what Biden was going to do. And everything that he said he was going to do, he did it. And that's why we're here right now. Now, you can have criticisms about Donald Trump as far as how he handled COVID. I'm not even going to argue that. I don't even want to argue that anymore. My belief is I cannot fault either administration for how we turned out as far as while we were in COVID, right? Because that's not something that's something that you have to play by ear. When we get to the technical aspects of it, yes, there are things that we could have done that were better and this, that, and the third, but we're not in COVID no more. We're out of COVID. So the effects of COVID are still lingering for the Biden administration. But if the Biden administration is a return to the Obama administration, right, that would mean that the Obama administration's leftover policies brought in by the Biden and Harris administration should have course corrected everything that was wrong when Trump got in the presidency. It should have course corrected. We should have seen something tangible going on as far as our society, if that's the case, right? Some people will say, oh, we only have 4 years. Well, a lot of people blame Trump for his solo 4 years for creating the issue, right? But the successes of the Biden and Harris administration, right? They'll applaud them and say we are going the right direction. Even though when we look at the boots on the ground, people are not feeling the effects of a successful administration. You can argue with me all day if you want to. Go out in the street and go ask people, are they okay with what's going on? How they can't afford. Some people got their student loans removed, but at the end of the day, what about the rest of their lifestyle? Right? Can they afford a house? What about taking care of their kids? What about taking care of their homes? What about their economic status? What about the status as far as socially? How are all of these things interacting with how we live our daily lives? So again, it's more along, I hate playing fast and loose with these things. And a lot of people who are not in the political sphere or who don't understand the politics of what's going on, pretty much don't understand what was going on. There is a criticism that I have for a lot of people, especially our older, and I don't want to like push anybody out the way or to alienate anybody, but this political sphere is not a old man's game anymore. A lot of the reason why we have the types of pandering we have is because people are chasing a certain demographic. Now, when it comes to donors, they chase the older crowd, right? We know most people understand those who have additional money are the older crowd, right? Anybody, I think it's like 50, 60 and up or whatever. So we're talking about that crowd. But when it comes to a voter block that's important is the voter block that's going to carry on for generation after generation, right? And those are the people who have the energy to move on. And that's when we're talking about like 40 and under. We could say like 45 and under. I would stick with like 40 and under. That whole 20-year block of new voters, right? Because once you start off, and I would beg to say anybody, I would beg to say 30 and under. Because when we look at the demographics of the 30 and under, how they vote is how they're going to continue to vote unless we have some type of drastic social change, right? But typically when you go 30 and under, this is where they are establishing what their political ideas are going to be. Because now they're entering into the market, they're entering into society. They by themselves, most of them without their parents. They're experiencing life. They're experiencing what's going on around them, and they're starting to recognize how politics actually interact with their day-to-day life. Now, a lot of times we get, especially with inside of my community, you get people who are energized around the presidential election, but they're not energized. Well, they're not energized in politics at all. They're just kind of like, let the government do whatever the government is going to do, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and that's it. And I think that's a defeatist. I really feel like that's a defeatist type of position to have when we look at voters or people with inside of different age groups, especially when they get worn out by the entirety of it, right? The defeatism says, I don't have any power in the government, therefore I'm not going to participate, is very defeatism, because they're disregarding the power that they have as an individual to affect things that happen in the government. Because if you look at how people govern, especially in today's society, they look at the numbers and they see who voted which direction. And the way that they create their messages is not, especially now, it's not always pandering to their base. They're trying to create a situation where they can get whoever is in the center on their side. Because truly, politics are fought from the center and not from your own personal side. Yes, we do speak to those who are, if I'm a Republican, I'm going to speak to a Republican. But I already know that a Republican is going to vote Republican because they are basically loyal to the party. Democrats are going to vote Democrat because they're loyal to the party. But what about those who are in the center? Those are the people who are going to actually vote. Those who are in the center who are going to actually vote are those who are going to sway the pendulum one way or the other. It's not going to be across. This is not going to be, oh, this party voted this way, therefore. No. It's going to be who's in the center and how you can influence those in the center to be able to move one way or another. Those who are on the fence, because those who are on the fence are going to vote. And you have to be able to get to a point where you can show what it is that you can do for these people who are on the fence. It's pretty simple. It's not really that complicated. I don't know why we overly complicate this thing. So our job as those who are in the media, or those of us who are speaking to the people as far as policies and things like that, we have to shine a light in the darkest places that people are not recognizing, or show them the trends that are going on, so that we can point them into the direction that point them in a direction that they can be more informed about how they do it, their decisions, as far as those who are in the center. So one of the biggest things that has been talked about, especially now since Vice President Kamala Harris has had her rally, is this whole thing about the border czar situation. And currently the news outlets have been lying to us, specifically the left-leaning news outlets have been lying to the American people about her position as border czar, as she is still the incumbent. She's the vice president right now. She didn't stop being the vice president since she started this journey. She's still the vice president right now. So she still has whatever position she had as vice president, she still has it today. So I want to watch this video real quick, and we got a couple of videos we're going to watch as we move forward on this, so that we can actually see what it is that she's saying and evaluate it according to the timeline in history.
Our administration worked on the most significant border security bill in decades. Some of the most conservative Republicans in Washington, D.C. supported the bill. Even the Border Patrol endorsed it. It was all set to pass. But at the last minute, Trump directed his allies in the Senate to vote it down. Right. He tanked the bipartisan deal because he thought it would help him win an election. Which goes to show Donald Trump does not care about border security. He only cares about himself.
Madam Vice President, I don't understand why they do this to themselves. I don't understand why they do this to themselves. We got another video I want to watch, and this is the same speech, and it's going to flesh out the entirety of it, because they cut out, Politico kind of cut out the rest of this speech, and I want to hear the rest of it, and I wanted you to show that. I'm trying to show you there's a slant that's being played here, especially with the left. Politico is very much so left-leaning. And then we're gonna come from the Valuetainment page. Again, that's in the that is in the notes, in tonight's show notes. Let's go ahead and look at this real quick. And this is the speech again.
Donald Trump does not care about border security. He only cares about himself.
Remember, Politico cut it off right there. So let's listen to the rest of it.
And when I am president, I will work to actually solve the problem.
This is real? Is this real?
Yeah. So here is my pledge to you. Donald.
So the reason why this is a fair criticism of her, because she's saying, okay, she's in right now. She's in power. She's in power right now. And she's saying that she doesn't have enough political power in her position to move the needle to affect anything that's going on the border. That's a problem. That means you're weak, and you're either Donald Trump has more power in the government than you do, or you're a weak leader, which either way you go, it would show that you're a weak leader when it comes to the border while you're in power. You're in power right now, but you want to say that somebody who's not in power has more power than you, and you need more power, which is really not more power. You need a certain type of power in order to fix a situation that you started. It's the Biden Harris's policies that actually got us here. So you're telling me it's Donald Trump's fault that when you were in power, you couldn't fix the border crisis that happened immediately when you got power, and you continued on not doing anything about while you were in power. You had 4 years, and we started to see this trend as soon as they got into power, right? But now it's all of a sudden, oh no, I need to be president in order to fix this problem. I need to be president in order to fix the problem that I created. That our administration that's in power right now, I need to be president in order to fix this. Or you're saying that Joe Biden and his administration that you're a part of was too wow. She's basically saying the current administration is too incompetent to take care of the border. If you really listen to what she's saying I need to be president to fix the problem of this current administration, I need more power to fix what's going on in the current administration, because the current administration is that I'm a part of is too incompetent to fix it. How are you going to say I can't fix the border problem because of Donald Trump? He's not in power. He's not in power. So if you're in power, there are things that you can do to fix the border. It's a bunch of things that you can do to fix the border. But what is going on is they want to create a problem they knew that during their first term, they had to muck up the system in order to create a problem, so that when it came to them getting the votes again, they can blame it on the person coming in, and they can continue on the issues. They can continue as business as usual when it comes to going business as usual when they get back in power, or when they maintain their seat. Make that make sense. But again, a lot of people will tell us that Kamala Harris wasn't the border czar. Kamala Harris had nothing to do with the border. But the border is a Kamala Harris issue because Biden was the one who placed her over the border, and we all saw it. Now they're trying to gaslight us and say, oh yeah, we never said that. The problem is, this is not 1990. This ain't 1980. This not 1970. This is not pre-YouTube, right? We have a moniker here nowadays. The internet is forever. We can see exactly what you say, and we can pull it up. Even if you try to retract what you say, we can pull it up. D.L. Hughley going with this now. We see the flop, right? He was very much so staunch against Kamala Harris. And now he want to switch up and say, oh, now I'm for Kamala Harris because we don't want Trump. Because he got Trump derangement syndrome like most people do. But we're okay with forgiving other people, but just not Donald Trump. We can't forgive Donald Trump for nothing. Even though his policies help the economy. Right? So, again, the economics it should be at the top of the list, right? And this whole border situation actually affects the economy at a very huge position, right? Because we're sitting here and we're watching what's going on, we can see how border security is important not only to we as Black Americans, but Americans as a whole. because you have a huge swath of people coming into the country and bankrupting cities around the country because we're choosing to open our arms to people that we can't even take care of when we can't even take care of ourselves. This is why Donald Trump is going to win and flip a lot of states, because we're utilizing taxpayer money to take care of people when we can't even use taxpayer money to take care of ourselves. This is like, why are we sending money across seas to other countries for aid for these other countries? And I get it. That can be a part of security protocols, but our economy is not up. You don't take care of people while you're down. You take care of people while you up as a country. Let me make that clear. As a country. Let's watch this video coming from Sky News.
Anyway,
yeah.
First, you know, there is nothing we love here on the U.S. Report more than the media getting caught out lying for the left. Now, everyone knows that one of the jobs Joe Biden gave Kamala Harris back at the start of the administration was to look after illegal immigration. And she was given the informal title of border czar. But now that Harris is running for president, there's a huge push on to deny that the southern border, which has seen around 11 million illegal crossings in the past 4 years, was ever part of her responsibility. Check this out, put together by our friends at the Media Resource Center, about what the media used to say about Harris and what they're saying now that the campaign has put the word out to do an about-face.
Quote-unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
You can just see it there, how the White House put the hard word on journalists through all the group chats to suddenly start denying that Kamala Harris was ever the border czar. I don't know. I suspect that some of those discussions, I think they may have looked something like this.
Jerry, just remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
Like, we have to point a lot of this stuff out because, you know, again, it's sitting right in front of our faces. These people do not care about what is going on as it concerns the general public. You're not going to tell me that she wasn't the border czar when she was the border czar. Y'all said she was the border czar. You continuously said she was the border czar. So if she was the border czar, she was the border czar. But don't come in and try to say after the fact, or try to say, you know, once we don't try to say once she's coming in to become a political figure for your side, you start lying and saying that she wasn't a border czar, because the government has already told us, the news has already told us that her position was to take control over the border. But now, again, like I said before, she wants to say that she's going to take care of the problem that she created. If you was the one that was appointed to be over the border, you are the one who created the problem. You created the problem. So now you're becoming, you need to be president to fix the problem that you created when you were given the power by the president. Come on, stop playing with me.
If you like San Francisco politics, you gotta love Kamala Harris. Going back to March 24th, 2021, Joe Biden appointed Kamala Harris the border czar. In fact, here's the transcript of what Joe Biden said that day about his newly minted border czar, Kamala Harris. Quote, "I can think of nobody who's better qualified to do this. She is leading the effort. She knows what she is doing." Well, clearly, she did not know what she was doing. And enabled by Senate Democrats, we've seen the border go from bad to worse. It's gone from a crisis to a catastrophe. Now 10 million illegal border crossings and counting.
Elon Musk.
Undocumented immigrants from countries on the State Department's terror watch list. Undocumented immigrants on the FBI terror watch list continues to grow. An illegal who was released into the United States shot a San Antonio police officer with a long rifle this past weekend. We should expect nothing less because Kamala Harris has said numerous times, by the way, despite trying to scrub her record, she said an undocumented immigrant is not a criminal. If anybody doubts that, take a look at her tweets when she was serving with us in the U.S. Senate. There's a reason why she was ranked the most liberal U.S. senator during her time in the Senate. By the way, they're trying to scrub that. That was on GovTrack. They're trying to get that removed digitally. But you know what gets worse? You remember that famous interview with NBC's Lester Holt? He pointed out to Biden's border czar, Kamala Harris, in an interview that she had not been to the border after she claimed she had. Do you remember her response? She was a bit flustered and said, "And I haven't been to Europe." So I brought along a little chart here. Washington, D.C. to London's about 7 hours. To get from here to McAllen, Texas, about 3 hours. And I understand she's headed to Houston. I suggest a trip down to McAllen, Texas, and check out the southern border. You know, there's a big difference, though, between Europe and our southern border.
Hard fought.
Because Joe Biden's border crisis is Kamala Harris's failure. And the American people are going to hold this administration and the Senate Democrats accountable this fall for their failures at the southern border.
And I had to play that because everybody knows that Kamala Harris was the border czar. Like, are we going to really look here? Are we really going to sit here and continue on allowing these people to play in our face? Are we really going to do that? We going to really allow these people to sit here and play in our face? Y'all do know that there was a vote already cast on this situation, right? There was a vote already on this. And this vote happened in the Senate already, condemning the Biden administration border policy and Kamala Harris. Don't believe me? I keep telling y'all, I keep receipts. Let's look at it. Here it is. Breaking. House votes 220 to 196 to condemn Kamala Harris's open border policy. Kamala Harris should be locked up for what she has done to our border. Agreeing to the resolution as amended, H. Res. 1371. The yeas are the Republicans, 214.
The nays are 196. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
There you have it. This isn't, and this is, it's literally 4 Democrats. Well, it's mostly the Republicans who went after this. So you got 6 Democrats that said no, that said yes, and 214 Republicans that voted for this and said yes, condemning Kamala Harris for her issues at the border. This happened on the 25th of July this year. That means this is still in the same time where we're figuring out who was going to be, if she was going to be in power or not, as far as the new candidate for the American citizens or the Democratic Party's citizens to become president of the United States. Again, it's all over the news. But the news is going to lie to you. I keep telling y'all, this is why I be going in deep like this. Because you have to look at what the news is saying, according to what the timeline is saying, according to what the facts are. They voted this. They already said they condemned her for it. This is another video that I watched today. And it highlights not only what happened as far as this presidency goes when it came to their understanding of how the border worked, but it gives the timeline and the numbers, which we can all look up. You can look up the numbers. Let's not play coy here.
While inflation is down and wages are up, prices are still too high. And when we win this election, here's what we're going to do about it. On day one, I will take on price gouging and bring down costs.
When she wins the election? Why the hell can't she do any of that now? It's not like she's vice president or anything. This is Kamala Harris, the shadow president of the United States. The day after President Joe Biden announced that he was dropping out of the 2024 race, he gave his full support and endorsement for Kamala Harris to be the Democrat nominee. The next day, VP Kamala dropped by the Biden-Harris campaign headquarters in Wilmington, Delaware.
It is my intention to go out and earn this nomination and to win.
Now, for the last few years, Democrats have claimed that they are the champions of democracy and that they're the only thing standing in the way of voting rights, etc. Here's VP Kamala during the first week of her presidential campaign.
Across our nation, we are witnessing a full-on assault on hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights. The freedom to vote. The beauty of our democracy is that we each have the power to answer that question when we vote. And when we vote, we make our voices heard. While you teach students about democracy and representative government, extremists attack the sacred freedom to vote.
And when America's educators teach about the 2024 election cycle, students will learn that not a single voter cast their ballot for Kamala Harris to be the Democrat presidential nominee. Because democracy or something. Bret Stephens, a contributing opinion writer at the New York Times, is skeptical, writing, "The last 2 times Democrats attempted to stage a coronation instead of a contest in choosing a presidential nominee, it did not go well. Not for Hillary Clinton in 2016, not for Joe Biden this year. So why would anyone think it's a good idea when it comes to Kamala Harris, the all but anointed nominee after barely a day? And what the Democrats are doing is the opposite of democracy. despite the endless preaching about it.
We who believe in the sacred freedom to vote will make sure every American has the ability to cast their ballot and have it counted.
However, 14.4 million Americans who cast their ballot for Joe Biden in the primaries, well, their votes don't count anymore. In fact, it's almost like they never existed. The one thing the Democratic Party is not supposed to be is anti-democratic, a party in which insiders select the nominee from the top down, not the bottom up, and which expects the rank and file to fall in line and clap enthusiastically. That's the playbook of ruling parties in autocratic states. And Brett Stevens is correct. Democrat voters had zero say in the matter as to who was going to replace Ghost Biden as the Democrat nominee. Instead, that decision was made by the donors and the party elites. I mean, do you think that if given a chance, that Kamala Harris would have been voters' #1 choice? Press X for doubt. So
I muted myself again. But one of the things we have to understand is that she, above all, did not get voted into this position through the primaries. That's a big thing, right? Because as the borders are, the person placed in position, she was placed here as a transfer from the Biden administration, right? So what that means is that she's an arm of the former administration. She's just an extension of that. So that would also mean that if she is in power, we're going to get the same type of policies that they have in this current administration in her administration. And if we go down the path of saying Kamala Harris will serve 2 terms, that would mean we would have had these policies for the next 12 years. 12 years. 12 years of these policies. Right? 4 in the Joe Biden administration and 8 in the Harris administration. That's not something that we need. We don't need 12 years of Democrats in power, especially at the rate with this administration, at the rate to which they do things, right? So let's look at it. Let's fast forward. I'm gonna fast forward this a little bit, and we're gonna get to the crux of why we are watching this video.
To what it was last year in June 2023. Are we supposed to be impressed? Also, who cares? During the first 3.5 years of the Biden-Harris administration, there have been a reported 6.3 million encounters at the southwest border. For the record, during the first 6 months of 2024, there have been over 1 million encounters at the southwest border. The Biden-Harris administration claims that the numbers are improving, but they are still way above and beyond the numbers under President Trump. In other words, the same people that told you that this guy was sharp as a tack are now telling you that the border, it's under control. And don't worry, I'm sure we can trust him this time. So in March 2021, Joe Biden called a meeting and spoke about the sudden influx of migrants at our southern border. Biden started off with this dubious claim.
So this new surge we're dealing with now started with the last administration, but it's our responsibility to deal with it humanely and to stop what's happening.
Fact check false. The surge started after Biden took office. During the 4 months prior, under Trump, the numbers were relatively stable. But during the first month of the Biden-Harris administration, border encounters rose by 29%. The next month, it rose by 71%. Joe Biden is a lying piece of crap. And even though the Trump administration's immigration policies were working, Democrats were determined to rip them to shreds because feelings.
We have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
So instead of securing the border, the Biden-Harris administration went another route. Here is former United States Ambassador to Mexico and Joe Biden's border czar, Roberta Jacobson.
The president has committed to...
And I want to stop there because I want to show you something about this migrant caravan that was coming from
the Supreme Court
why Donald
said
Trump?
You can be Aryan, you can be Caucasian, but that doesn't mean...
Hold on, that's the wrong video. Sorry, y'all. YouTube be playing videos. Here it is.
No, it's the next episode that's going to be about Cardi B's
This is that migrant caravan that they were talking about in 2020. That migrant caravan started later into the Trump administration. I mean, started coming in later into the Trump administration because they knew that the Democrats were coming into power.
Caravan is coming for you. Look out. That's the idea President Donald Trump is pushing hard to his supporters, that the more than 7,000 people who comprise this latest so-called caravan through Central America are a pillaging horde of dangerous illegal immigrants on the verge of surging into the U.S. and your house.
In that caravan, you have some very bad people. You have some very bad people. And we can't let that happen to our country, and it's not.
On Twitter, Trump has gone even further. How could he do that, you ask? This way, quote, sadly, it looks like Mexico's police and military are unable to stop the caravan heading to the southern border of the United States. Criminals and unknown Middle Easterners are mixed in. I have alerted Border Patrol and military that this is a national emergency. Must change laws. Criminals, Middle Easterners. What Trump is trying to do here is pretty simple. With the 2018 midterm elections rapidly approaching, he's trying to scare his base into voting. And if 2016 is any guide, it just might work. But the reality of the caravan is much more complex, I know you're shocked, than Donald Trump is letting on. So let's dig into it. Okay, the caravan, essentially a large group of people making their way toward the US border, is not a new thing. These annual marches are known as Via Crucis in Mexico and have come to serve as a sort of symbolic vehicle for people, mostly from Central America, to draw attention to the dire conditions from which they are fleeing in their home countries. Typically, people join and drop off these caravans in large numbers, which means that by the time the caravan gets anywhere close to the United States, it usually numbers in the hundreds, not the thousands. Now, speaking of getting anywhere close to the United States, and this is important, the caravan is currently near the Mexico-Guatemala border. For you non-geography majors out there, that's more than 1,000 miles from the closest border crossing into the United States. To date, the caravan has been moving at about 20 miles a day, which is a lot. But if you do the math, that means the soonest the caravan could get to the US border would be in 50 days.
So here you got them. Here you go. This is from CNN, matter of fact. This is from CNN. They're telling you that these people are coming. Trump said that these people are coming. They admit that these people are coming. They're trying to diminish what that looked like. But we can see in current history what actually was going on. Trump was not crazy. They try to make it seem like Trump was crazy and none of these people were coming to the border and it's just going to be a couple of hundred people. And now here in 2024, it don't look like a couple of hundred people to me. It don't look like a couple of hundred people to me. And this is an influx of people coming into the country. This is why it's a problem.
Seeking $4 billion over 4 years to address the root causes of migration. As part of that plan, we will address the causes that compel individuals to migrate, including improving governance and providing a foundation for...
I thought CNN, I thought these people were just going to get dropped off and it would just be 100 people. I thought they were just getting dropped off in Mexico. But now we got a migrant crisis. And they told us this. They told us about this in 2020.
Investment and economic opportunity, strengthening civilian security, and the rule of law. Only by addressing those root causes can we break the cycle of desperation and provide hope for families who clearly would prefer to stay in their countries and provide a better future for their children.
In other words, the United States would give millions, if not billions of dollars to countries in the Northern Triangle to persuade them to improve their governance so that their citizens won't feel the need to come to America. I mean...
So again, here we go. All over again. They're telling us, right? Oh, we're going to use our more tax dollars, not only to pay for the people that are here, but to pay their government so they can keep them where they are. Instead of just removing the people who are here and sending them back to their countries, right? Because they're here illegally. All you got to do is just send them back to their country of origin. Send them back to their country of origin, period. Utilize tax money to do that. Stop busing them to these cities, these sanctuary cities, because you're bankrupting these cities. Remove them from the cities. Then the city can use their tax dollars that they wasted to recoup so they can take care of their own constituency. That makes sense, doesn't it? People will say, oh, you sound hateful. No. This is how you create an economic crisis. You don't understand that this is an economic crisis currently? Are we going to sit here and say, oh yeah, by the way, this isn't going to do anything to the economy? Taking taxpayer money who are struggling right now, taking their tax dollars to take care of people who we can barely take care of. Matter of fact, taking care of them better. Taking care of non-citizens better than we take care of our own citizens. What kind of message do you think that sends to the people who are struggling out here? We have mass homelessness where we're punishing people for being homeless. In America, we punish people for being homeless. Not just homeless, but homeless Americans. Crazy, right? But, you know, let's keep...
Sure, it's never worked into pass.
Let's vote for Kamala Harris because she's black and she's a woman.
But don't worry, I'm sure it's going to...
We can care less about what her policies sound like.
...work this time. But Jacobson's role as border czar was short-lived. So Biden decided it was time to give Kamala Harris something to do.
But I've asked her, the VP today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks stemming the migration to our southern border. It's not her full responsibility and job, but she's leading the effort. The vice president's agreed, among the multiple other things I have her leading, and I appreciate it, agreed to lead our diplomatic effort and work with those nations to accept the returnees and enhance migration enforcement at their borders.
Now, if it sounds like Kamala's mission is strikingly similar to border czar Jacobson's, it's because it is, which means Kamala effectively became Joe Biden's new border czar. So what was VP Kamala's plan exactly? How would she stop the illegal border crossings?
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come.
And they didn't listen. 3 years later, it's very clear that the Biden-Harris administration's handling of the border was, and still is, a disaster. Here's President Donald Trump on the matter.
Kamala Harris was appointed border czar, as you know, in March of 2021, and since that time, millions and millions of illegal aliens have invaded our country.
So with that, Democrats and the media went into full gaslighting mode. First, Axios put out this tweet. The Trump campaign and Republicans have tagged Harris repeatedly with the border czar title, which she never actually had. So Axios is saying that Kamala was never the border czar, except for the fact that it was previously reported that she was the border czar by Axios, including this article from April 2021. Harris, appointed by Biden as border czar, said she would be looking at the root causes that drive migration. But you gotta love that the editors at Axios thought it would help Kamala Harris by putting all the blame on Republicans.
Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
People gonna have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
She was never appointed border czar.
Kamala Harris was not named border czar.
She wasn't actually the border czar.
Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
She was never actually border czar.
She was never border czar.
First of all, border czar, the title, is the title the Republicans gave her. She is not the border czar.
Just remember, folks, the same Democrats and news networks who repeated the talking point that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian information now want you to believe that Kamala wasn't actually the border czar. They think you're stupid. So if she wasn't the border czar, even though she actually was, what was VP Kamala supposed to be doing in regards to immigration? Well,
and I'm gonna cut it there. If you want to watch the rest of the video, we still got like at least 4 to 5 minutes of that video, and I don't want to be too long on that. I don't want to be too long-winded because I want you to go ahead and watch and go click and subscribe to that channel. That's coming from Don't Walk Run Productions. And the link is going to be in the description as well. But again, we can't continue to allow these people to lie to us like this. Like, that's what they're literally lying in our face as far as it concerns Kamala Harris's actual position as vice president. And again, she's telling us, I'm going to fix the problem that I created. You're the one that created this problem. This is a problem that you created. You made this mess, and now you're asking for more power to fix the problem that you created, that you were in charge of. Last time I checked, when you do something you're not supposed to do, guess what happens? If you're in a position and you fail at that position, you don't get the opportunity to turn around and say, I get more power to fix my problem. We don't do that. We don't do that. So if you're going to vote for Kamala Harris under those pretenses, I want you to know you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Stop working against yourself. Stop working against yourself. Stop working against yourself. Please. I don't care who it is. If Donald Trump fails at the border, guess what? Fire him too. I don't care who it is. We, as the people of the United States, need to come to the point where we're saying to those who are in power, if you fail, you don't get a second chance. We don't have a second chance no more. We don't have the opportunity in this country because of what's going on with the people on the ground to continue to give people the opportunity to make mistakes with us. Especially we're not in COVID no more. So we should be working on fixing the problems, not creating more problems for ourselves. And with that said, man, I love y'all, man. I truly do appreciate and love each and every last one of y'all. I hope that this video itself was informative to you. To anybody who is in the middle, purple like me, I hope that this video informs you enough about the candidate, because we're not talking about parties. We're evaluating candidates. We're evaluating the candidates, right? We're not talking about parties. We're talking about candidates. And to be fair, y'all gonna see me scrutinize Donald Trump in the next couple of videos as well. It's not gonna be like the left does. We're gonna stick to the facts and stick to what's going on. I don't care about people talking about racism and all of this stuff, because Kamala Harris told us that Joe Biden was racist. Kamala Harris is a part of the prison industrial complex. Joe Biden helped to create and continue the prison industrial complex. Education is not going up in quality since COVID because they're in power. I don't want nobody playing identity politics in my face and pandering to me for identity politics. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm not stupid. We're not stupid. We know what's going on. We can see it for our own eyes. And if you continue to lie to us, that means you do not need to be in position or in any position of power as it concerns this government. So again, man, I love each and every last one of y'all. Please go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you like this video, let's start the conversation down below as we have in our other videos. And I promise you, if you comment, I will try my best to comment back to the first comment back within a certain amount of time. I'm not going to tell you when, but I will try to comment as much as I can as we move forward on these topics. That's how YouTube is. I only get a small amount of time to comment to comments to certain people's comments before I got to move on to something else. So I apologize if you come late to the party and I don't get an opportunity to comment to your comment. But I promise that I'll try my best to keep up with. I try to keep up with actually commenting back and having a discussion with you. And again, we're going to try to build this platform up so we can have a couple of people on the platform as we move forward. So with that said, man, I love each and every last one of you guys. Peace and blessings. Please go in peace. And I hope you guys are informed. Please go in peace. I pray for each and every last one of your families. And I pray for your houses. And I pray for this country. Whoever wins, win, lose, or draw, I pray for each one of these candidates to take us in the direction that is necessary for us to be able to thrive as Americans. I love y'all. Peace.